Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leah Chantel, and today I'm going to talk about how to use guided and silent meditation to rediscover what your soul purpose is. And the reason why I use the word rediscover is because you probably already have some sense of what your soul purpose is, but for some reason you decided to bury it. Why do we bury our soul purpose? It has a lot to do with our relationships and how we try to fit into society, especially if you're born a woman or a gender that's not male, let's put it that way. What ends up happening is we get taught the messages that we need to put others' needs ahead of our own. And when we do that, we get a lot of validation and approval, but the cost is that we forget who we really are sometimes as women. We forget our true purpose and what we're put on the planet for. And maybe part of our soul purpose is to help others. It is to be in community. But we usually have a unique individual calling as well. And that can get lost if we overburden ourselves with the needs of others and we go too far to take care of them. And let me give you a little secret about being a woman and having successful relationships, by the way, in the secular sense. Usually when we overgive, it gets us into trouble because we're taught that that's the way to get approval, to be good girls. But the interesting thing that happens when we overgive is that people take it for granted. And when that happens, even though we're giving and we're adding value, people don't relate to us anymore as our authentic selves. We're kind of seen as a doormat or a pushover. And how does this whole setup even happen? Because we're taught when we're young that it's a virtue to take care of others. It's a virtue to be of service to others and to contribute, especially as women. So why do we get ourselves into that situation where people think that we're a doormat? And the answer is because I believe we're shifting from an old era of patriarchy into a newer era of patriarchy, where we're trying to get to the point where both genders are equal, but we're not there yet, and we're kind of in this weird in-between phase as a society. So when we're raised to be good girls, when we're raised to put everybody's needs ahead of our own, and usually these messages come from major religions, which is not to criticize or say that they're wrong, but the thing is, it comes from the old patriarchal paradigm, and I don't care what religion it is. Like, that's just the way humanity was thousands of years ago, that men were in charge almost universally with very few exceptions. And so what happens is we're raised with that message to put everybody ahead of ourselves, and that's patriarchy old school. But what actually happens as we grow up and integrate into society is that men are following a different form of patriarchy these days. They want more adventure, spontaneity, more mystery from their women. And they get that from the television shows they're watching or other strange programming they might be watching on the internet. I won't say what that is, but you get what I mean. So men have different messages about what a woman should be in their mind. And it goes beyond that old patriarchal paradigm that comes from religion, where women are meant to be just good girls and serve the family. That's no longer really what gentlemen are looking for. In fact, they find that boring. But they have different expectations, different concepts of what they want from women. And as a result of that, when we try to be good girls, when we try to fulfill that old paradigm that we're brought up with and we're taught will give us that secure, comfortable life, it actually backfires. And then we have dealt some cards that are challenging to work with. We don't really understand why our partner doesn't respect us or why our kids are walking all over us. And it's because we didn't put our authentic self first. We didn't discover what our soul purpose is. So how do you find your soul purpose? Especially if you've been in a situation for a long time where you are a wife, where you are taking care of kids, and your life is very busy and overwhelming, and you can't really seem to stop. You're overcommitted and you can't really seem to get out. How do you find your soul purpose again? The good news is it doesn't take that much time, but it does involve some commitment that you need to carve out a little bit of time for yourself. So the first thing I recommend is that you try silent meditation and you connect to the universe without filling any concepts in your head, just quiet and silence, at least for a good 5 minutes. And the reason why I recommend that is because the next thing I'm going to recommend after that is a guided meditation or visualization. But the reason why I like to put silent out there is because that can tap you into a very deep part of your soul that can kind of go beyond even what you can envision or visualize when you're meditating. Having said that, if you're always going for silent meditation and you're always going for no concepts, that can be a very difficult endeavor too, and you can get frustrated, right? So that's why I'm going to recommend what I'll recommend next. So first will be silent meditation. You can follow your breath, you can count, you can use a mantra, whatever you feel comfortable doing in terms of your silent meditation. And then after that, I recommend a guided meditation. And I do recommend visualizing that you're going to go talk to a group of people. They can be like business associates, they can be like angels, they can be like whatever you imagine them to be. I just want you to imagine that you're going into a very beautiful setting to talk to somebody who is your best friend, who's really going to help you find the answers to the deeper questions that you're looking for. Like, why did I get involved in this marriage? Or is it time for me to quit my job? Or what's the best solution for me to connect to my kids because they're growing more independent and they don't seem to want my advice or my feedback anymore? Although you can follow experts online and they offer some really great advice, there's always a limit to how far the experts can go to help you. Have you ever noticed that? Having said that, it's great to follow experts and get their advice because there may be something that you're missing that's very important for you to learn in following people and getting advice. But at some point, you've got to follow your own guidance and your own intuition to build your success. And that's how you create a unique brand and become an expert in your own right as well. It's by following your own intuition and building your own set of wisdom and knowledge that you want to share with the world. And that wisdom and that knowledge is really what's going to tell you what's the right thing to do. If you're not sure you should quit a job, if you're not sure whether or not to get divorced, those are really big life decisions. You don't want to put them in the hands of someone else who may not care about your life as much as you do. So you always want to ask your own guidance these bigger questions and really pay attention and write down to what your guidance says. And the interesting thing about your guidance is sometimes it doesn't always answer in a linear fashion. Maybe you ask whether or not you want to get a divorce and your guide says, go pick some apples at an apple farm, right? And you think, what? Apples at an apple farm? But when you go there, you run into somebody who's an expert on relationships or something like that. And then they give you some really awesome advice that helps you save your marriage. Or maybe they push you in the other direction. Maybe they tell you it's time to go. And whatever it is though, when you have guidance, even if it appears random, always follow it because that's going to point you in the direction of your life purpose. Your own internal guidance really gives you that firm answer of what is your life purpose. And you can do that through a visualization. You can imagine that you're flying, you can imagine that you're climbing stairs upwards or climbing stairs down. It doesn't really matter as long as you visualize yourself going to that place where you need to go to meet your guides, your best friends. And I believe in recruiting your ancestors to be part of this group. Not that your ancestors will have the answers to every single question, but the ones that have passed and who are part of your family lineage love you and care about you, and they have a vested interest in your life. And so it's good to invite them in and let them be present when you're making decisions. They may have some advice to offer you as well. And when you are finished writing down your guidance, the biggest point is you have to follow through and act on it. That can be the scariest part. Sometimes our guidance will tell us to do something scary, but it's never impossible. I've gotten guidance before to leave the country and work in another country. And people look back on them, they go, how did you do that? But really, I did find some advice from people, but I also followed my own inner guidance. That was the main piece of me that was calling me to go to New Zealand at that time. So you can really figure out anything when you consult your guidance, and that's how you find your soul purpose. That's how you get everything together in your life, get your S together, right? And I highly recommend doing that exercise in order to find your soul's purpose. I hope you enjoyed my little tutorial today about how to find your soul purpose and how it gets lost and how to reclaim it again. And the cool thing about your soul purpose too is that when you find it and you start carving out time for yourself and you're not necessarily available all the time to give to everybody else, they actually respect you a little bit more. They respect your boundaries and they understand that you have your own dreams and ambitions that you're working towards. And the interesting thing about people is they actually respect that more than somebody who gives and gives and gives. People are worried that that's going to be like perceived as selfish. And yes, if you work all the time and never see your family, then yes, you can overdo it. And it could be perceived as selfish, but taking a couple hours out for yourself and staying committed to that, like your family is not going to argue with that, especially if your soul's purpose starts to bring in money. If you're bringing in money into your family as a result of your soul's purpose, they're probably going to let you work as long as you need to in order to make that happen. I hope that all makes sense. If you liked my video, definitely click the thumbs up. If you have any questions about the soul's purpose or anything I've discussed in this video today, definitely leave a comment. I'd be really happy to answer any questions that you have. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to see more information on how to follow your intuition, how to develop really healthy relationships, and any other advice related to relationships and spirituality. I'm your girl. I'll give you lots of details and notes on that. I hope you're all having a wonderful week and take care. Bye now.